Hi, Stephanie. We were hoping some more of our team could join us, but I guess they'll get in as soon as they can.
Okay.
So here in the conference room, we have Ms. Heather Jenkins, our new Associate Superintendent CFO, and then we have Mr. Jason Pitts, our new Chief of Staff, and I'm Laura McCabe, Coordinator for Labor Relations, and then we have other administrators remotely.
Okay.
And I'm here as well. This is Tedra.
Thank you, Tedra.
Hey, Tedra. All right.
I'm on as well.
It was that Mr. Hyde? Okay. All right. Well, I know that you guys were pulled into an emergency meeting at 4, so we will we'll go ahead and get started if you guys are ready.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So because of the time change with you guys on your end with the unexpected meeting that you guys have to go to, we figured it would be the best use of our time. We had 4 things that are currently on the table, and 3 of them seem like we could probably wrap those up pretty quickly. So we wanted to do first Articles 19 for the para and 15 for the ESP. And I had sent that over to you guys about a half hour ago with the cleanup. That included the language that we tentatively agreed to between July 29th and August 18th. And then the language highlighted in yellow is still what we're discussing, so that we had a good cleaned up copy of those articles that we could TA on today if we come to an agreement. And then we have Appendix C in both the para and ESP contracts. We have tentatively agreed to the health contact supplement, but we were still discussing the Title I supplement of $200 for paras and ESPs that work in Title I schools. Laura had sent over last time the district revised greenhouse language in the para Article 9. And a lot of that just looked like updates and cleanup language, nothing, everything pretty benign. And then the network managers. And so we wanted to save that for last with the time constraint, because we wanted, in talking with Mr. Hyde this past week about the network managers, we kind of took what our concerns were and what your concerns were, and we have a proposal, a revised proposal that we think addresses both of our concerns. And so we wanted time to just go through that and present it to you guys. I have it ready to send over to you electronically. And then that way we can present it. You guys can take it back. And then when we meet, I think next week, we were looking at maybe September 1st. Then the conversation can really center around coming into the gate with the network managers.
August 31st or September 1st. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So does that sound the agenda good with you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine with us.
Okay, perfect. All right. So Laura, do you want me to share my screen or do you want to share your screen with the Article 19 for paras and 15 for ESPs that I had sent over?
If you would, since you're presenting, and then you'll know where you're going.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so essentially, I'll go ahead and show the para 19 because the ESP 15 has the same language as para 19, with the exception of the related degrees in the paras. And so I'm pulling this up. Share. Laura, can you give me permission to share?
Yes.
Okay, because right now I don't have permission to share.
Try it now, Stephanie. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yep. I can't. Okay, so this. All right, so in the blue is what we have tentatively agreed to over the last couple of bargain sessions. So the 19.1 and 19.2, just to recap, is just updating the payroll frequency language, and we had discussed that, and we were okay with that last time on the 18th. And then moving on 19.2-4, we are striking through the payroll frequency feasibility committee because that has served its purpose. But then we are adding in a new 19.2-4 that provides the window from February to in the spring for people that are on 12 paychecks to move to 24 in that window. And we also TA'd that language on the 18th. And then rolling right through, the next one was the 19.3, and that was still on the table. Go ahead.
Stephanie, sorry. Can you go back to the 19.2-4? I think there's a misunderstanding. We did not agree to that, to my knowledge. We're reading it now.
This is from the MOU. We took out the charter leave. This is straight from the MOU saying the parties agree that employees hired prior to July 1 can switch payroll options from 12 equal payments over 12 months to semi-monthly option of 24 equal payments over 12 months each spring, starting on the first workday in February through the last workday in April. That's from the MOU.
Yeah,
Okay, it's not the leave of absence language.
No, I had taken out the leave of absence because we had said we could table that until the open book and discuss that.
That article I hadn't read it yet. Thank you.
Okay, so we're okay with that though.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So then that brings us to 1913, which is the college hours. And we were wanting to add under education degree program or degree related to position for our para-educators that are in that contract that don't have necessarily education degrees. So this could affect our sign language interpreters, our LPNs, our OT-PT technicians, people that are in the para contract but don't have positions that are really education degrees. They're other service provider degrees. And that would move them from this $300 once they get to the 90 hours in the BA degree to the $700. And so, Heather, where did your finance team land with this for discussion today?
We costed it out to, if you include everyone that is a para that currently has a other degree supplement, the cost to change to the same rate as the education degree would be $224,000. If you only look at LPNs, ESOL paras, sign language interpreters, it would be $40,800. We don't have any current that are specified as OT-PT.
Okay.
But you have some that are listed as ESE, so I wasn't sure if you were talking about those as well, but they are listed as ESE vocational trainer, ESE student specific, ESE self-contained, ESE pre-K, ESE learning center, ESE basic. Are any of those in the group that you're thinking about?
So the intent of this language is not because, like, for example, a center school para, right? They might have a degree in marketing, but that's not related to what they do now in the classroom, right? And so they would get credit for other degree program under that other degree column. What we're really targeting here is if they're in a position that their degree is directly related to the position that they currently hold, that's not necessarily an education degree. And so that's the difference here. So we wouldn't cost out everybody that has necessarily a degree because they would be covered in that other degree program. It would be positions that have degrees that are related to the position that they currently hold.
Okay.
So we're probably looking closer at that $40,000 then, because it wouldn't be everybody. It would be if they have a degree related to their current position with Polk County Public Schools.
Right. Do we have a criteria currently for determining that, or is that something that would be left up to HR? Just in case
Now,
that.
I mean, I would think how we do like related job experience when they come in. So like with our LPNs looking at their healthcare, job related experience, I would think it would be probably a similar process, because we have their transcripts if there's any to get this supplement anyway, in 1913. And so it would really be like, does your degree, reasonably fit into your job description?
Right.
So I would think that would probably be handled through HR very similarly to how related experience is already handled when you're placing people on schedules.
Okay. I think we can agree to that.
We want to be specific about what related means.
So like for Gina example, she's a sign language interpreter. She has a degree in sign language interpreting. She is currently getting the $300, but she actually has a bachelor's degree related to her interpreting position for the district. Same with nurses, right? So our LPNs, maybe they're working towards their RN degree. That's directly related to the position they hold within Polk County Public Schools. It's not an other degree program. It is directly related to what they do for us right now.
So Stephanie, can we say degree specific to position rather than degree related? And
I'm okay with that.
No.
Anything to
I'm okay with that change.
We're basically going
I don't think it changes the intent. So
when we determine whether.
I mean, I think a lot of this is probably common sense.
I don't. It's common sense, but that's what the degree specific is going to be. You'll have a lot more problems with the word specific. I think degree related, and HR is fully within their authority to look at degrees and job description and say this is degree related. Degree specific is going to get you bogged down. You would have a problem with that. And by the way, it's management's. If management, it's an example. If HR says I have a degree related to this position, that's as far as I'm aware of, that's your prerogative. Management rights. I'm trying to say.
I think we agree.
Okay.
Yes, we agree, and we'll use the same process that we would, just like you're saying, when someone's applying for a job and we have to determine whether their degree is related to their job. It would be the same process.
Okay, so we're good with this then.
Yes.
All right, awesome.
we want to say specific, but now we're saying related OTPT. Interpreters.
All right. Okay, so the next part of the para 19, well, before we come back to underpayments, this was, Laura, what I had added in from 1919, and then with y'all's language with the 1920-3 with the thresholds. And so the raise increases that paraeducators will receive an automatic level annually, but then we have the caveat that you guys added in to make that palatable for you guys. So are we good with that part before we talk about the underpayment?
Can you give us just a moment to discuss? Thank you. We were just discussing the new language, and then we had another clarification. We wanted to go back on 1913, Stephanie, when that's.
Oh.
Should we do that now? Or?
Yeah, sure.
So the question is, so if an interpreter is getting the degree now and she goes to a basic para, she would lose the supplement, correct?
Yes.
Effective on the date of the transfer.
I would say so, because then it becomes an other degree program. She would move to the other degree program category, not, I mean, that would be what she would do anyway, right? Because she has a degree that's not related to her position.
Mm-hmm. So she would go from 700 to 300.
Yeah. That's how I would understand that change anyway, right? So. Oh, until that next year.
End of the current fiscal year, yes.
Yeah.
Their held harmless through the June 30th of that current fiscal year, and then effective July 1st, they would hold the salary for that current position. When they went into.
Yeah.
Thank you. 1919, Heather, is that what we're going to go?
So then 1919 and then 1920-3 is the language that was added on the 29th. So we had this, that they'll receive their automatic level increase. And that was ours from 1919. And then for you guys to agree to that, we added in the 1920-3 in the event there was a fluctuation. Oh, and I do need to change it. So sorry, because I copied this from the ESP. Let me change it to 1919. I just caught that.
Can we move on to the next?
For the 17th.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay, we didn't talk about 1917 in yellow.
We haven't. Yeah, we need to talk about. And actually, let me change this real quick because it's not 1919. It's 1920. So that was already TA'd. So I just wanted to show you that it's been added in to the whole deal. And then so let's go back to 1917 under payments. So we had some discussion about this last time. So what did y'all end up discussing and bringing back for us with this?
Stephanie, our proposal is that if it rises to the level of 3 days worth of pay, that we will pay an off-cycle as soon as humanly possible on the payroll side.
So do you have language? Can you throw up what that would look like with language or in this section?
You have to make it bigger, sorry.
Yep. Is that better?
Yeah, so.
So the employee shall be made whole within 3 business days, period. How's that?
Thing.
The amount.
Well, I think what Jason is saying, if I've captured this right, is that they're saying that if they had 3 days worth of pay that was underpaid. So if it was less than 3 days worth of pay, they wouldn't pay until the next check.
That equals or exceeds 3 days of pay, the employee will be made whole immediately, knowing that immediately means as soon as it can be processed in payroll, which is typically a 2 to 3 day turnaround.
So we should probably say 3 days in the turnaround.
Yeah. Well, in 3 days worth of pay, I mean, that is still a lot of money. for our support staff. So, and I understand the payroll limitations anyway, that it would be 2 or 3 days for payroll to even cut them a check, a paper check. I think, and I'm looking at our group right now, I think 3 days is still a lot of money. I think 1 day would be more appropriate, because I mean, even if they're missing 1 day's worth of pay, I mean, that's a significant percentage of somebody's income for our support staff. And again, this is just with an employer error. This is not if the employee has made an error, in submitting documentation. This is in the event of an employer error.
We're discussing, Stephanie, just a moment.
Okay.
Somebody needs to mute their microphone. Okay, Stephanie, we're back on.
One of our concerns that we've been talking through is how it affects our payroll cycle. So we have had instances in which we've corrected employees where it was our error, and what it does is it alters the distribution going forward, because when they're paid, it's paid as if it's actually the next payroll. So how our salaries are divided and distributed out in the remaining years, it creates issues that we have to go in and correct. So that's why we were wanting to put a little bit of a larger buffer in it.
Well, so with the new minimum of 11 for a 7.5 hour support staff person, that's $82.50. And I know there's taxes taken out of that, but even after taxes are taken out, you're looking at $60. And for somebody to be short $60 that is barely living or not even living paycheck to paycheck is quite a significant number. And again, this is for an employer error. This is not for employee errors in their payroll. And so we feel very strongly that, I mean, really, we would feel comfortable if 1 day's worth of pay is the threshold, not 3. And again, this is for an employer error, and you should be on the hook for correcting this and making the employee whole when it's your error, whether it's your principal's error, anybody in management, or payroll's error. It's your error. So it may put a little bit of an extra burden on you to correct it, but that's what needs to happen, because it wasn't the employee's fault that management made the error. And so, you know, we would be okay with, if you want like a threshold, having a day's worth of pay, because that would be about $60, you know, maybe a little bit more once you take taxes out for the employee, but that's still significant.
Let's go back on the.
Okay, we'll discuss it one moment.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
You know, we've talked about several reasons that we're concerned about. Another reason is just so you guys are aware that if there are extra taxes that are taken out, if there's garnishments or things like child support, it's going to come out of that check, and there may not be a check. That's how we end up with like those 1 cent. So I just want you to be aware that folks still may end up with not really a check.
So
Well, I
then
mean, if
maybe,
they have
so that,
punishments. Oh, go ahead, Wilfredo. Sorry.
no, so go ahead. I'm sorry. He didn't complete his thought. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
You did?
We can agree to drop it down to 2 days. So if it's 2 days worth of pay, payroll will process a manual check.
You know, it's a little bit disconcerting. You guys are bargaining this hard. I mean, this is an employee error, which kind of begs the question: how many errors, for God's sakes, are you guys actually making? You shouldn't be making any errors in people's payroll. But if you do, like Stephanie has been repeating, this is only if the employer makes an error. So it's really disconcerting that we may have to, when the full book opens up, take a look at payroll, and because the way you're bargaining this particular minor section is really fascinating. I don't see what's the problem with one day. If you can do two, you can do one.
That's what we're proposing.
2 days.
Well, that's what I think Wilfredo's point. He's saying if you can do two, you can do one. And again, this is for an employer error, which I would hope wouldn't be happening too frequently. But Wilfredo makes the point that if this is being a sticking point for your payroll department, how many employer errors do we make in payroll? That would be a fascinating number to look at if we're really going back and forth so hard on this. It just seems pretty common sense to me that you would want to make your employee whole if it was your error. And I get that there's logistics behind it, but again, that's on your payroll department or on your administrators that are making these errors.
Well, if you guys would like to sit for a lesson on how our payroll system works, I'd be glad to do that with you.
Well, Stephanie, what I would suggest, I think too, we may want to maybe land on two, maybe talk to the committee about it, but land on two, and perhaps through the process of committees, or next year when we sit down to negotiate the contract, we would be more than happy to take a look at, like he just suggested, take a look at payroll and see how the system is working or maybe not working, with the possibility of maybe outsourcing that.
Because outsourcing it won't be cost effective, but I promise you that our goal is to have 0 of these. But since we've gone to the bi-monthly system, we now are running 2 payrolls, and it is a logistical nightmare at the moment.
Well, then I think I agree.
We're trying to prevent from causing more errors.
So I think I agree with Wilfredo. We will settle with 2, and then we will definitely want follow-up data to see how this is working now that we're going into our second year of semi-monthly pay, as we're going into the open book this spring, to see if this needs to be reevaluated. So we will settle on 2. So right now in this language then, Jason, where would that best fit, you think?
So we'll be eligible for off-cycle payments if the amount of the error is equal to 2 days. I say 2 days worth of pay because in hours, I don't know if we say. I say 2 days worth of pay because it seems like that is easier than saying a certain, you don't want to say 8 hours, or I say 2 days worth of pay. And I agree wholeheartedly with you that I would like to see the data on the number of errors, and that is something that we definitely. I wish we could right now just say, any error, but it's. I do appreciate the opportunity to sit with you guys later on and discuss this with more data at hand.
So to make it flow that they're not eligible for off-cycle checks, and except in the event of an employer error, an off-cycle payment will only be issued if the amount
is equal to or greater than 2 days
of pay. More. I think 2 days of pay.
Yes, of pay.
So is that capture?
Yeah, I'm okay with immediately because we will process it immediately. However, the process, getting a check may take a couple, 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
As long as you guys understand that it can take a couple days to cut a check.
Immediately
Yeah.
doesn't mean,
Yes.
doesn't mean same day. It means immediately when possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we strive to get done as soon as we can, but it unfortunately just takes 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
You said it.
I mean, I think that's pretty, I would think that common sense would prevail that, you know, payroll needs a day, 2, 3 to process.
Just, that has to be processed with a paper check. It cannot be direct deposit. And we typically work with the employee if they want to come pick it up, or if they want it mailed to them. That's typically how we handle those manual checks.
Okay. So we're good with this. I can put this in blue now.
Yes.
Yes, looks good.
Perfect. Okay, so this is the same exact language, and I'll copy this over to the ESP. So on the ESP, I mean, it's the exact same. There we go. So I'm going to copy.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So the same thing in 15, just to review, it's straight from the para, because they're the same. And then you have the same caveats for the fluctuation in total funding with the FEFP.
We're on 1919. You're going to scroll up. Scroll
Yeah.
down.
So this is the same.
It's not moving.
Oh, maybe I shared the wrong. I have to unshare and then reshare. I'm so sorry. I thought it would automatically change my window. I am so sorry. Is it this one? Yes. There we go. All right. So 15 with the ESP, just real quick. It's the same exact language. That's from the TA from the July 29th. And then the fluctuation language here.
Hold on. Hold on. We wanted to go back to 17, I think. Yeah. So this is ESP. All right. Can you make it
This is ESP. It's the same.
A little bit larger, please.
Oops. Okay.
Same as para 1919.
It's the same as para 19.
So Stephanie, my concern with this is that on the 29th, we had a 2-year agreement for 21-22 and for 22-23. So we were under the impression that we were doing this for 2 years and then we were going to revisit it as a complete contract change.
Yes.
So the way
I
the
think
contract,
that still allows us to do that, because if we have it in for 2 years, I mean, like, I think even Tedra made the point last time that we can look at language every year. And so within the fluctuation, it sets us up to review this. So it was our understanding that we had this in from July 29th, and you agreed to this because you had that caveat language that we were adding in to the FEFP total funding.
no, I mean, I'll rely on maybe get Tedra's expertise as well on this, but the way this reads to me is that it's a permanent change. There's nothing specified about the 2 years. So I believe if we change this language, then it's just locked into the contract.
Well, so I would disagree, because what our understanding when we TA'd this on the 29th was that you would agree to this if we had the caveat, knowing that we can come back and revisit this language.
That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct.
I mean, that's
And
why
with
we
that-
agreed to the addition, because you guys ended up being okay with this language in 1517 and in the 1919, because we added in the caveat to revisit if funding went either way. I mean, that's why we agreed to that caveat.
Stephanie, scroll down to the caveat, because, you know, I don't want to flirt with regressive bargaining here.
Yeah.
This was very well discussed at that date, at that committee meeting.
We're discussing, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
You know, the discussions around 1519, we've had these discussions already.
Yes.
At this point, it's
We TA'd this language because they agreed to
Yeah.
the language above. I know. So much for being optimistic that we could finish the agenda.
Stephanie, we're back.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Jenkins.
In our conversations, Stephanie, Wilfredo, and team, we were under the impression that our agreement was for 2 years and that we did have the language that you have in 1920 as our automatic reopener, depending on funding and fund balance for those 2 years. We were not under the impression that it would become a permanent change. We are open, of course, to discussing it every year going forward, but we thought that's why we arrived at the 2-year agreement.
Well, I guess my thing is that it should be automatic, and that was why we have this caveat language now. And so that if something were to fall in either direction, or the fund balance was projected below 3% with state statute, that we would renegotiate, and that the automatic level was just going to be part of this package, so they know July 1 that they're getting a raise for the 22-23 school year. And then it was our impression with this TA, because this caveat language doesn't even need to be in here if we're going to have to still negotiate automatic salary level raises each year. And so this language was put in there to protect you in case things went negatively, and also to protect us in case things went positively, so that we could come back to the table and renegotiate the automatic salary advancement. So that's why we agreed to this language. And so I'm slightly perplexed at this point that this is TA language that we're revisiting regressively. And so this was language that was put in to protect both parties so that we could come back to the table in the event we had financial issues to discuss in either direction.
Yeah, and this language came from you, Heather. This was you initiated this language. So since you initiated this language, and you know, I had some reservation on that. I mean, so you had a thorough conversation about the 2 items that we TA'd. So again, these 2 items have been TA'd. We need to move on to the next item on the agenda. I mean, on the screen.
Yeah.
By the way, and I'll note that Mr. Hyde was present when this language was put together. I mean, we can discuss something we already agreed, or we can move on to something we haven't agreed to yet.
I'm in agreement, Wilfredo.
Let's move on to the next item.
We agree. We agree. We're going to lose our some of our administrators at 4 o'clock. We want to start the network management presentation.
So we will go through. Stop sharing.
Stephanie,
Go ahead, Wilfredo.
I hate to do this. This is audible, but based on the conversation we just had, where we literally had a thorough conversation and TA'd an agreement, and now they're questioning it. They're questioning their own sense and logic. I would caution about making that presentation now, right? Because I don't know. I don't see I don't know that they'll process what you're about to do to in a way that's going to get us to an agreement. I think it's my opinion that we wait when we meet so you can make a thorough presentation on the network managers, because I just don't see the benefit here for either party. They just spent almost 10 minutes, 15 to 10 minutes, all right, caucusing on something they already agreed upon. I just think they're gonna get more confused if you give them this presentation now. That's just my opinion. But if the committee here agrees that we should roll out the network managers, roll it out to them, present it to them. But I think that these folks get confused rather quickly.
So how much time? I mean, I guess, Laura, you guys said you had a hard out at 4. We're 3 minutes away from 4. Do I have at least 15 minutes to where they could delay their meeting and so that I could thoroughly go through this?
We have Dr. Barrios available, and I believe we're going to lose Ms. Porteous and Superintendent Hyde at 4.
So I would say table it. They should be on
So she's requesting that we do table it if you need 15 minutes, Dr. Barrios.
I mean, I just want to make sure that I'm not just throwing it out there because, again, what I'm concerned with would be throwing something out there to where we can't thoroughly explain our thinking behind it, and then you're just seeing a document, and then you think of all the ways that it's no. When I think that we've come up with a really good consideration from both parties' concerns on this matter, and so I would want adequate time to be able to explain it. And so if I don't have 15 to go through it, then I would rather table it until the 31st or the 1st. Now, I do have a quick question. The Appendix C for both with the Title I, we had thrown out the $200 supplement for Title I. Is, Heather, what's your position on that? Because I don't think we necessarily need the other two since that's more of a financial.
As to the network managers, that's fine to table that because we do need our administrators there. So we're honing in on the 31st, and we'll confirm that after the meeting. And then we'll go to the Title I $200 supplement for paras and ESP next. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
In a moment. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey Stephanie, I did cost out Title I. It's only about 21,400, so we're going to be able to do that.
Perfect. Awesome. That was I think the quickest. Awesome. Okay, perfect. So we're good with Appendix C because we had agreed to the health contacts last time on the 18th. And so Appendix C on both the para-educator and the secretary clerical units are wrapped up then. And then the para Article 9, Laura, that you had sent over with the greenhouse, we were good with all of those revisions. It was clean up in 9. We're good with Article 9, what you had sent over with 9.3 and I believe 9.4. There were 4 pages of that.
Yes. Thank you.
And just to clarify too, because I thought I heard MOU, but it's just the language in the article, right? To clean up, there's no MOU that's attached with that right now. Because I couldn't find one, and it was just the article language, right?
For which? I'm sorry, which topic?
For the greenhouse project?
Correct. No MOU. Correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then we are good with the para Article 9. And so before we go, I had a few housekeeping items. In preparation for really the TSIA subcommittee and coming to a close with para ESPs, hopefully on the 31st, once we discuss network managers, because that would be the only topic of discussion really within pay grades would be network managers. And then, yeah. And so 2 questions. Heather, with your finance department and payroll, where are you at with the alpha pay levels for the support staff? And because we would need to review those with you guys to make sure that that's exactly what we agreed to with the 11 minimum, the 2% increase into their pay levels, and the level increase, and then the extra 3% at the top. Because we need to make sure that we hang that correctly in the contracts before we can advertise for ratification. I know last week you said that it would take you about another week. Are you guys finished or almost done with that so that we can review all the pay grades?
So we checked with the programmers today. There's one last test they have to run, but it does look like it'll be able to be processed in SAP that way.
Okay.
So we should probably know by the end of the week. So there's just one last thing remaining to verify.
Okay. So would you be able to send spreadsheets of what that looks like for each pay grade then, so that we can sit down and possibly, if we need to, review with you and your team, and then start to hang it in the contracts for preparing for ratification?
We can, but that may have to be sometime next week. The same person that would prepare that is working on completing our budget book at this time.
Okay. Well, and if you guys are good with the example that I sent over, I just didn't want to do all the pay grades and then it not be what you guys could do in SAP. So if that format that I sent over to you a couple weeks ago for the programmers to start looking at, if that format is good, then I can even start working on that fairly easily as well, and then we can sit down with that if that's okay with you.
If you want to go ahead and prepare that would be great, because the majority of our staff is currently dedicated to working on finishing our AFSCME raises and also our budget book and our AFR. So that would be most helpful.
Okay, I can start working on that as long as what I sent you is that you said that's good to go then.
Yes, it's,
okay.
I'll tell you what, Stephanie, let us let you know tomorrow if it passes the final test, because we should know.
Okay.
And then that way you'll have the go ahead to get started.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good with me. And then for the TSIA subcommittee on the 8th, which is that early release day, we still need the bargaining information request. We had gotten part of it in what we were looking at for new employees and work sites. But we need the other part of that bargaining information request so that we can start digging into that. Both sides are going to need that if they're going to be productive for the TSIA subcommittee. And Wilfredo has sent in a second request, because we haven't gotten anything back from that. And I know Angela is waiting for that too, because we're relying on Angela to help us pull some of that apart. And we need to have adequate time, and really both sides are going to need that information for TSIA to be productive. And so we need some kind of a response, and maybe Wilfredo can talk to that briefly, because he's been the one putting that request in.
Yeah, we need some sort of response from the second email that we sent out to you guys. Because a zero response or no response, you're putting us in a situation where we have to touch base with FEA Legal and file unfair labor practice charges against you. So if some of the information is challenging, let us know. If you've got some of it, let us know, hand it over, give me a due date, a specific date. And you're going to have to start treating these union information requests separately from public information requests. They're not the same. I'll send over the sites that you may need to clarify that on your end. But in order for the 8th to be a productive meeting, we need the information. But you got to respond. You can't. A no response is just going to cause more complications that are necessary. And so I had a conversation with your public information request person. She seems very nice. She seems to be working as diligently as she possibly can. I asked her to please follow up with me. She did not. I sent a second information request, and we've heard nothing, because it's not about me really. It's really about both parties here. We've heard absolutely nothing. So we've got to have some sort of response. Thank you.
Okay, this is Tony. Let me jump in here regarding the information request. We have received your request, and we've received the information. We've been working to gather that particular information. It's my understanding that perhaps maybe some of that information may have already been disseminated to you in a separate correspondence. I'm going to go back and look at my emails.
Part of it was, Tony. Part of it was.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Stephanie. Thank you very much. So we're working on the remaining portion of that, and a lot of that comes out of Paula Dole's office. During this time of the year, we're all very extremely busy, and we understand that. We can and we will do a better job of, at the very least, acknowledging the fact that we have got the correspondence and we're working on it, so that it doesn't look like that it's just hanging out there with no response from the district whatsoever, because that's not the way we operate. So I want to put that in the room. Secondly, there are a couple of other entities outside of personnel that extract that information for us. So I'm working remotely today, but once I get back to the office tomorrow, I will purpose to find out where we're at and when you can expect to get that information.
Right. Thank you. And
you,
really,
Tony.
It's really just about, like, if that is the case, letting us know that this is what we're working on. We're running into some issues here, so that we have communication that it is coming. And so that's really what we're looking for here, because we don't want a no response, and then we have no idea what's going on with this information. And so we really need it. It's Wednesday. We really need this by Monday so that Angela and our team have about a week to pull this apart so that we can come prepared to have a productive TSIA subcommittee meeting.
Totally understood. And so, like I said, once I get to work tomorrow, we will endeavor to find out if we can get that as quickly as possible and find out where we're at with that.
Okay, thank you so much, Tony. We appreciate it.
Certainly.
Okay, so then we will come back, and Laura, it's looking like the 31st to discuss the network managers.
Start again, I'm sorry.
Sorry, so we're looking at Tuesday, August 31st to come back for the network managers.
Yes.
And I also wanted to put this out in the room because I know that you guys had expressed some concerns with duty releases and when bargaining is taking place. You know, we're trying to do it in the afternoon to help alleviate that. But student instruction does come first. And so we would be agreeable if this is something, because I know even district staff are having to go into schools right now to help cover some of our quarantines and shortages. We would be agreeable to doing more of a 4 to 7 or a 4:30 to 7:30 if that makes things easier for coverage. And so to put that out in the room, you know, our team is agreeable. I mean, we do most of our stuff in the evening anyway because all of our folks work during the day. And so if that's something that you guys as a team are agreeable to, knowing that, you know, you guys are having to be out in schools too, we could move these a little bit later so that we don't have to duty release and get coverage during the day, or it's very limited.
Thank you for that information. If the time changes Tuesday, I will definitely put that on the invitation. If we're
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We just wanted to throw that out there because we know that it's a challenge right now. So, all right. So just to recap, and so that anybody on either side has, you know, any questions or clarifications, we have Appendix C on the para and ESP, both the health contact and the Title I $200 supplements are done. We agree. The para Article 9, with the district revisions to the greenhouse projects and cleanup there, we agree. And now Article 19 and 15, I mean, we had a previous tentative agreement on the salary and the raise and the steps or levels. And so it is our understanding that we are agreed on.
That's a TA.
That's a TA because now all of the language has been discussed and agreed to.
That's a TA. Thanks.
Do you have that TA that we agreed to on the 29th, other than the 2-year salary agreement?
So that was part of that. All we signed, all we agreed to as far, well, I shouldn't say that. Let me back that up. So when you had sent over the language to TA, it was the addition. But then when we had our discussion, it was in agreement that we were agreeing to that caveat because of the level increases that would be automatic.
Earlier, you may not have understood us, but we said we agree.
Okay.
Okay,
so
thank you.
19 and 15 are good to go then.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So we actually got a lot accomplished today. Yay. So we will see you guys on 8/31. And the time could change if the district team can meet a little bit later to maybe alleviate some of the school site duty release times that we ran into. But let us know about the time because we are agreeable to meet later if that works for your team.
Of course.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.